Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order for MHCA's November board meeting. Hope everyone's doing well today. Um, I believe it's a very limited agenda today with just a few things. So first of all, I wanted to call to approve the minutes for the October meeting. Can someone motion to approve the minutes?
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right. Uh, Everyone who consents to approve the meeting minutes, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally assent. All right, that appears to be unanimous. The motion to approve the minutes is approved unanimously. Okay, so I believe Carson is going to be joining us at 10:10. So I know we just have a few things to cover before that. Kristen, I know you had sent out information on a financial report. Could you could you let anyone know who didn't have a chance to read through those emails, kind of where we're at?
Sure. So the month of October, our revenue was higher, which is typical, but still lower than it was last year, or previous years. With our expenses, we are now net income year to date. We're in the black, $3,671. So we are, that helped quite a bit this month. The next couple months are trending, or at least November so far, is trending to be one of our lowest so far this year, which is also expected. But we should be okay with our basic expenses for the next few months anyway, even just with what's in the bank currently. So that is all I really have to report. Does anyone have any questions?
You'd mentioned some price increases with my brain is just
Neon?
Neon, yes. Is that just part of their normal, let's charge you some more money sort of price increases, or did anything else come with that?
No, that's just their normal increase. So they alerted us, and I had sent an email about that a couple months ago. I think they gave us 2 months notice saying that as of November, all prices would be increasing. So that went from 256 to 290.
Okay.
So it's $34 or so,
Okay.
which is a reasonably large amount considering we're trending for maybe 1,700 or, maybe average 2,000 a month or so.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty large percentage of our revenue right now, but also I don't know that we have another option or a better option.
Carol?
Um, I can say Larry did a lot of work into it, and Larry and I met with a couple different companies just to see if there was a better company, and it seems that by far Neon and Neon Pay are the best and the best for the money.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, especially based on the cost. Some of them were much, double that or
Mhm.
more. So it's expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the financial report? Or Kristen, do you have something more to say there? Sorry, I might have cut you
Oh,
off.
sorry. No, I don't, I can wait. This can be something I can mention later. So nope, that's
Okay.
it.
All right.
Let me just say that was very helpful, Kristen.
Oh.
The written summary you sent us all, that was very helpful.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So in terms of my report on things, we are still need to continue to reach out to the universities about the conference and kind of what we want to do with that. I wouldn't mind talking to somebody as a sounding board in terms of that, just because I know that Carol, and Larry had kind of collaborated for a response to them. I just didn't feel it's kind of in the right place yet. So I just wanted to kind of bounce that off of somebody at some point. Um, we're also been doing some good work in terms of our collaboration with NESW, which has been going on, and getting to know our partners over there and finding the places where we have some alignment on things and where shared issues. And hopefully we're going to be working on building a larger coalition for some of the larger legislative fights that are coming up. But hopefully those should be productive, fingers crossed. Um, so I think that's been the major thing this month, has just been kind of getting ready for some of those things. Um, I think we're waiting for executive session to discuss kind of what's going on in terms of the mediation. So that'd be the other place I'd have some more to talk on. So we'll wait for that. In the meantime, one thing I did want to say is that in terms of like the membership numbers, um, we've been fighting like heck to keep this organization going and afloat and productive and doing things for the counselors. And I think that, if we can, we should also be more directly like pointing that out to them, is that we need their support. Several people have on this board have um, personally contributed to the organization in slow months, and that's not something we can continue, forever. And so, you know, one of the things I wanted to bring up to folks as a possibility is maybe doing some short videos um, where we talk that are directed towards membership and talking about the importance of the organizations and the work that we do, and being like, we need you guys to be involved because we can put in dozens of hours and it doesn't matter if we don't have the resources to do some of the work we need to do. And I don't want it to be in terms of like a shaming or like waving our finger at them about it, but like, hey, we need you guys. And I know it's hard to do to figure out all these things that have been going on. Okay. Um, sorry, I was getting some notes. Um, and Larry, I'll mention in just a second. But yeah, I think we need to ask for that assistance and ask for that engagement from them because we can't fight forever on our own. We're going through a mediation process to resolve the um, issues that have been plaguing us for the last year, and hopefully that goes well, and hopefully that allows us to resolve things and move forward. But you know, engagement from the counseling community has been pretty low for our organizations always outside of a crisis. And I think we really need to ask them, do you guys want someone defending you, someone working for you? So anyway, I'll shut up. Larry, you had something to mention?
No, what I was gonna say can be held to when we're in our private session, so that's fine. Thanks.
And I did want to say this during the open session, specifically for people who watch these meetings, because to let them know how important that is. And I assume anyone who's watching these meetings is probably also a member or, someone who doesn't like us, but um, maybe they understand how important it is or how serious the situation is, and talks to people about also, their colleagues about also getting in, you know. So anyway, with that, I will end my report for this week or for this month. Um, I believe we have Carson here to talk about legislative matters, and so I can pass things on to him if that's okay.
Sounds good. I'm ready when you guys are.
All right. Well, I recognize you, Carson Gatt from Acuitas.
Sounds good. Thank you. So obviously, since the last time that we were able to meet, there was something called an election on November 5th, and looking more than just at the national perspective, we certainly saw those outcomes kind of trickle down all the way at the state level. So it was kind of a little bit of a surprise, but the House Republicans took back the Michigan State House with a number of 58 to 52. They flipped four incumbent Democrats, which is kind of rare. But those were the four seats that were flipped, and they now will have a 6 seat majority heading into the next legislative session. The Senate will be 19 to 18. And Chris and Carol and Larry, if you guys remember when we talked, actually, I think it was on election day, um, that one state senator who was running for that congressional seat, she actually ended up winning. So she will vacate her state Senate seat. She'll be going off to Congress, starting January 1. And now the Democratic majority will be a one seat majority in the Senate. But obviously that still means Democrat will be control of the administration and the governor's office as well as the Senate. So that's put a little bit of an interesting wrench in the lame duck period. And specifically because the current Speaker of the House has decided to not be the Democratic leader next year. So he's going to be stepping down, and it's a little bit of up in the air as to what this lame duck period is going to look like. I'm not sure if people have seen any articles or things that have been published on this recently, but there are members of the Democratic caucus right now who are threatening to not show up to Lansing unless certain priorities are addressed. And that's specifically problematic because they only have a 1 seat, majority right now, and they need all 56 members of their caucus to vote on something in order to get it passed. So it's a little bit of a chaotic time. We're hearing that it may be labeled as a frantic lame duck, but it could end up being pretty lame in the end, with just the inability to get 56 votes and to get things over the finish line. We saw a flurry of bills introduced at the last session day on November 7th. If those can get addressed, it's going to take a lot of willpower. I know the governor is specifically focused on this Project Grit, which is, I think that's over in Genesee County, to bring one of those chip factories or something like that over to the region. And then she's heavily invested on economic development and a revamp of what we call the SOAR program here in Michigan. You also have the pending issue of tipped workers and paid sick leave and the minimum wage, which was, if you guys remember, 2018, Adopt and Amend, if that rings a bell. Something was supposed to go on the ballot. The Republican legislature said, nope, we'll handle it and pass it at the legislative level. And then they actually changed the content of what was going to be on the ballot. So the courts ruled that was unconstitutional. And now all of this 6 years later is going to take effect on February 21st, 2025. So that's a big issue for small businesses. They got to figure out, minimum wage, paid sick leave, all these changes that could go into effect on February 21st, which is in the legislative cycle is right around the corner. So those are kind of the two main issues among, a host of other things that the legislature is trying to grapple with currently. Again, they need all members to show up. And I always, say this as well. We're one snowstorm away, or one person's flat tire, or a sickness, illness, something happens in someone's family, one crazy thing away from not having the votes to get stuff done in this lame duck period. Any questions on? Oh, yep, Kristen.
Yeah, I just had a question. Do you know if, or do you anticipate there could be I don't know the right legal terms, but an appeal again about this new law that is set to come into effect in February with the new majority? Do you anticipate any changes to that?
So I think something probably gets done in lame duck, and I think that takes up a lot of oxygen um, and resources to get that done. I think the biggest thing is, and it's not meant to be political, but I think people have heard it all across the state, whether it's Republican or Democrat. The raising of the minimum wage for restaurant workers and tipped workers, they don't want it. They can make more with their tips. So I think that's probably the lowest hanging fruit to get sorted out. And then I think there's just some clarification on the paid and sick leave. Um, because if you already offer great benefits and more than what the state decides is the minimum, there's really there's nothing that says you can go above and beyond, which is problematic if companies are already offering good packages. And also on the minimum wage thing and phasing that in to $15, I think even Republicans, if you ask them, they're fine with that. But if they're going to take the vote on that, they're going to want the other things to get addressed. I do know that if it doesn't get done in December in lame duck, I was told actually on Wednesday that will be the first or second bill that is introduced in the House by the majority. Will be a proposal to make some changes to that.
Carol?
Carson, did I hear you say there's nothing in the language of the law that says businesses can't go above and beyond what's required? So if they're already doing that, then this won't be any problem for them?
I'd have to look more into it. For some reason, I heard that if they're going or offering more, that it could be up for interpretation that they have to come back, to the minimum.
Oh, no.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's just kind of from some of the resources and people I've talked to. That's one of the concerns that they've brought up, or maybe it's not super clear, and that they'd like to make it explicitly clear that there is a minimum and that's the floor, but there's nothing that says you can't go above and beyond.
Thank you.
Though even if people are doing more than the minimum, they will still have to start tracking it, which is something that a number of our members may have to deal with as practice owners, because that will affect everybody who has W-2 employees rather than 1099 contractors.
Yep, and I think too, one of the potential solutions is exemptions for businesses that are under 50 employees, which I think people generally have consensus on, as well as like seasonal workers as well, kind of that seasonal and part-time, and then exempt for under 50 is the latest that I've heard, that generally people are like, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
I just have a couple. I think you guys may touch on some of this later on, but just a couple of other updates. We were able to, I think, have a very, very productive conversation with Meridian. Hopefully you guys saw the outreach put out by MMHCA to the membership. I think we're in the best spot that we've probably been in working with them. And we had a frank conversation. I think there's consensus to try and work on building trust between the two organizations and how we can collaborate in the future. And I'm hopeful that's a good partnership to come.
We did hear that a few of the other MCOs have started trying to pull maybe similar things. We'd heard something about HAP, and then who was there another one as well? Was it just HAP? Carol, do you remember?
It was just HAP. UHC was talking about not giving the 20% increase apparently to someone, but they've reversed that and they're gonna backdate their increases to October 1st. So HAP's the only one that we know right now that seems to be claiming that SMI diagnoses need to go be referred somewhere else, and they've been denying claims. So Carson is helping us look into that. And
Yep, I have the department looking into this right now. I reached out to Janice Hersey Anderson from the department, trying to find her exact title here, but she's an administrative or section director, section administrator through Medicaid. And if you look at their organization chart, I mean, there are so many positions, as you could probably imagine. So I started with her, and then she referred me to Brad Barron, who said he's acknowledging it and he's going to be in touch soon. So he's looking into it currently.
thank you so much, Carson.
Two other quick positive points. First is we had a great conversation with the social workers a week ago, last Friday. I think there's looking at legislative opportunities to partner together on in the new legislative session. Still some work and details to be hammered out there, but very similarly with the conversation with Meridian, I think we have a great partner with the social workers, and even want to do some outreach to marriage and family therapists too, and see if we could possibly bring them into the fold and continue to build the coalition to have a strong voice.
And so we should probably also try to set up similar meetings with Michigan Psychological Association and the other professional associations to see what we can put together for this next year in terms of advocacy. One thing I was just and because I was just checking into the paid sick time law, this definitely does allow for rates greater than the minimum. It does clearly establish that it's a minimum. 408.963 amended is pretty clear on it. So I don't know if that
Well,
helps
that's
you,
good.
Carson.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear.
Yeah. It's accrued at a rate equal to or greater than the rate described in subsections. It works. So there's already language for that.
Is there something to do with maybe there was like a mix up on the paid leave versus the sick leave, or how it's PTO versus sick time? I'd have to. This is on another thing that I work on, where very similar people are like, well, I heard from this person that this is going to do this, and then it's kind of how possible misinformation spreads.
Yeah.
But that's good to know. Thank you for that clarification.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I remember some of that when it was first in 2018, when this was coming out. Those were a lot of the concerns. I think some that maybe led to the postponement of some of this. So I'm wondering if they've made some changes there. But I also think to the PTO part, what I can remember about that is some companies had just a general PTO bank, and they didn't separate it by sick leave or vacation time. And so it's my understanding that now they will have to have separate banks for those, because there's specific reasons you can utilize sick time, and the accrual is very specific. So versus somebody that might say, you just get 40 hours for the year and we give it to you on day one, right? That's not how this law is set up. So I think that was part of the concern.
Yeah, that's ringing a bell now, Kristen. Thank you.
And I can confirm that is that if you have otherwise PTO, you then have to set this in another basically category of and then track its accrual separately. So yes, that's absolutely true. So that might be where the people were getting that idea that they could only do minimums, or it would bring them down. It's that, oh, well, if they're already doing more than that and say other paid PTO, then it's going to create you have to track it and stay in compliance, which is a bit of a pain in the butt.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there because, it might be useful to someone here or to you.
Yeah, definitely. One last quick thing. I was able to meet with someone in the incoming Republican leadership who will help set the agenda for next year. And one of the questions that they asked was, "Hey, are there any bills in this past session or our current session that were kind of no-brainer bills and should be bipartisan and non-controversial, but they just didn't see movement for whatever reason?" I said, "I have the perfect bill for you," and talked to them and sent them the information about the LLPC bill. And I said it literally adds the word professional back into statute in 13 or like 17 different spots. And it's just trying to mirror up statute with rules. I said it should get 110 votes very, very easily. So that is on the Republican radar for next year at least. They do want to have stuff that's on the agenda that they can pass quickly, send over to the House, and get on the governor's desk.
Is there any chance of that still being handled this session if they actually do come into session?
In lame duck, never
Yeah.
say never.
Okay.
I can't for the life of me understand what the holdup is. We've seen this on several other bills and legislation too. I can't give an answer as to what's going on in that caucus at certain times.
Well, if there's any opportunity to put that on anyone's radar for this year, just because I know that next month, or sorry, not next month, but in January they're going to be doing some rules revisions. So I know that Lar was hoping that we would be able to have this resolved by then.
Yeah, I'll set something up with Wes and talk with him on that and just see where all the timelines and all that lines up and just connect with him. So I'll
Okay.
put that on my list.
Any other reports, Carson, or any other questions we have for Carson today? Carol?
I just want to acknowledge that I'm really grateful for the meetings that we went to with Carson, with both Meridian and NASW. They were very productive, and we're excited about, because with both groups we've committed to meeting roughly monthly, so that's very exciting.
Yeah, that was a lot of great work over the last 3 weeks with those meetings, and thanks to everyone for joining and making those so productive. So that's been great work, and it's exciting for what the future can hold.
All right. So again, thank you, Carson, and we'll see you next month. We have to figure out the scheduling for next month, I think, just because.
I
No,
think we decided not to meet next month.
yeah, I think so too. So
I
unless
may want to do something with a smaller group, just with updates on lame duck and stuff. So well, after Thanksgiving, we can touch base on that. But I think we should have something on the books, at least one time in December. So
Okay.
we'll figure that out.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. Well, thank you very much, Carson. Have a wonderful weekend, and I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Hope everyone has the same.
All right. Is there anything that I believe Liz maybe had an announcement before we go into closed session? Is that accurate? All right.
I just wanted to announce that I'd like to offer a free to MHCA members a Medicare billing compliance for LPCs on the first Wednesday at noon of every month starting in January. It'll be $50 for the session if you're not a MHCA member, so it's another value add to the membership. And my book is being released soon, and it's a an incident to and making a case for integrating mental health into every type of healthcare practice and how to do it and get 100% reimbursement with a treatment plan and lots of templates and things like that. And I will be able to offer those during the Q&A sessions as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Larry?
Yeah, just to follow on what Liz just said. First of all, thanks, Liz, for doing that. And Carol has been attending the sessions that I've done with supervisors, and those have actually been growing slightly. We're up to 12 this time, and they're going quite well. So that's been reassuring that the members are seeing the value in it. And we've had each time a couple of people show up saying, "I'm just here to see if this is any worthwhile," and at the end they say, "This is definitely worthwhile," and they come back. So that's a nice thing. And also I'd like to add to what Carson said, that the meetings I thought with Meridian and NASW were outstanding, and not just a commitment to meeting, but a commitment to actually do some things. There's some joint projects with both that they're going to be involved in, which I think will be very valuable to counselors around the state. So just want to mention that.
Kristen, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Larry's saying. That made me think that kind of to your point, Chris, earlier about doing videos, or I was thinking of like building value in the membership and making sure we're communicating clearly what we're doing. I think this is our groups, I think, are important to continue to push out because those are just benefits and opportunities. And also all this work that, I know I haven't been at those meetings, so I appreciate those of you who have, but it sounds like they're very good start to collaboration. And I think that's part of what has been missing with counselors. We've been kind of isolated and we don't have a lot of buy-in. So it'll be, I think, people really seeing what is being done and the time that's being invested and the work on their behalf could really increase their buy-in, hopefully.
All right, thank you. All right, so if there's nothing else, I know we had talked to moving to a closed executive session. So there's nothing else kind of on my itinerary for today. So would someone like to make the motion to move us into closed executive session?
I motion we go into closed session.
Do we have
I
a second?
second.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded. Everyone who is in support, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally assent. All right, the motion carries unanimously. So at this time, if you would please pause the recording, and to everyone watching the recording, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch and help support our mission. And I hope all of you have a wonderful holiday as well. Take care.